Hello, welcome to everyone who's watching this. My name is Shenan May, and I'm sitting here with Niels Hartman,
Good
and
evening.
and we just kind of meet up every 2 weeks on Zoom, and we talk about the insights that we've had and the shifts that we've had in our lives, and kind of catch up just as friends. And we started noticing that we're having really, really cool conversations that other people can maybe benefit from them. So we decided to press record and record them, and hopefully you'll enjoy them and get some valuable information for yourself that you can use. Um, so yeah, that's it. I just want to say, Niels Hartman, you're based in Netherlands, right?
Yep, that's right.
And you work as a transformative coach,
Yep,
and I
exactly.
do as well. And I just want to set some context for people because, we're coaches, so that's the direction the conversation might go into.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool. So today we're going to talk about maybe some insights that each one of us has had in the last few months. We haven't actually done this for a couple of months now, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. It's
Yeah,
been way too long.
thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, it has been long.
yeah.
Okay, well, why don't you start? Let us know what kind of insights you've had and what experiences you've had.
Hmm.
Excuse me.
So, let me think. Sometime in May, late May, March. Late March. Um, it was an event in London, and it was a 4-day event, and there was a lot of conversations going on, a lot of three principal conversations, talking about the inside out nature of life. And it was really sort of meaty and heavy. And it was on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Thursday and Friday were really heavy, and my head was just filled. And every evening I got home from the event, like about 6 or 7, I was just completely floored. I'd lie in my bed at the hotel. I'd eat a little bit, and then like at 9ish in the evening, I'd just pass out till about 6 or 7 in the morning. And uh, I did that 2 days in a row, and then the
That's a
Friday
good sleep.
nights. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like I really needed it. I was just so dead tired. That's yeah, crazy. But on the Saturday morning, uh, I woke up and I just had this one thought in my head, um, that um, overwhelmment is a feeling, and feelings come from thought, and that was it. And just so super ridiculously simple, but in my mind, in my head, it crystallized how like thoughts, the immaterial, the non-physical energy creates the feeling from overwhelmment. You're not overwhelmed because you've got a lot of stuff to do, but you feel overwhelmed because thought, and that's it. There's
Yeah.
nothing else behind it. And like the months before that, I was just getting so overwhelmed that I had like 2 breakdowns, and I just sat in my bedroom in tears, like I can't take this anymore. I'm
Oh,
going way
wow.
too fast. Yeah, and in that moment, just waking up, all of a sudden there's just like this spark of information that was like, this is all that's going on and nothing else. So we're okay. You're basically okay. It's not the stuff that's going on that's making you feel um, like everything's crashing down around you, but it's just thought creating your feelings in the moment. That's all there is. And it was just so purely simple that
Hmm.
I mentioned it on the third day during the conversations. And most of the people in the room just were like, yeah, obviously. But it was just so simple that they couldn't see how simple and easy it was. And they were like, yeah, but it's just so simply, so, yeah, just so simple and incredibly deep and impactful and powerful. But until you see that for yourself, it's like, yeah, obviously, yeah, sure, okay, makes sense. But
Yeah, totally get you. Yeah.
yeah, there's
I'm
really
right,
like,
right now, I'm just like, yeah, obviously.
and it's funny because I just woke up to it. It wasn't like a mental process
Yeah.
going towards that. I just really, honestly, I just woke up and it was like, that was stuck in my head.
Hmm.
I have no idea where it came from. It made sense and it was like, yeah, right, yeah,
Cool. Very cool.
yeah,
Those are like real transformations when they're so simple, effortless, and kind of pop you out, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so lately, there's been a ton of work and stuff going on, and it's been absolutely crazy. And I've still felt overwhelmed at points. It was like, yeah, it's a bit too busy. Maybe I shouldn't be doing everything at once and working from morning till evening. But that was it. There was no stress, no worry, no high strung feeling.
Excuse me.
It was just like, yeah, I'm
Mm,
feeling overwhelmed because I've got so much thinking about it, and that's it. It's not because I've got so much to do,
mm.
which is really helpful. That really got me
That
through this month. Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
You know, it reminded me when you were talking about it that excuse me, I'm just getting off a cough, so excuse me if
Hmm.
I'm coughing. Um, it reminded me of two things. So one of them is I had a conversation with Jacqueline Hollows that I actually posted on Facebook.
Hmm.
I think it's on my timeline or my page or something. And she was talking about that. She was talking about overwhelm and how it's going on here. It's nothing to do with your work.
Yeah,
So it reminded me of that. Although I get caught up in that, I can't fully see that it's overwhelm all the time. So I understand when people say, yeah, obviously, but they don't actually see it. So that leads me to the second thing it reminded me of. I, and I'm writing about this right now. I'm just trying to articulate this so I can kind of make somewhat of an article about it.
cool.
But I found that I was repressing or suppressing my emotions.
Hmm.
So I was spiritually bypassing something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't notice it, but about a couple of weeks ago, I had this insight that I was fearful about something, right? And I went, oh, fear is just thought created, right? I know that. Like it's created from thought. It's nothing to do with what I'm about to do or what I want to do. It's completely internal. I know that. And the fear wasn't going away. And I was
Hmm.
like, why is it not going away if I know that? Then it struck me, you don't see it. You know it, but you don't see it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then what I was like, oh my God, that's so true. Because what came out of that was I have seen it before, but if you don't see it continuously, it knowing it doesn't do shit. Like,
yeah,
excuse my
yeah,
language, but you know, it
yeah,
doesn't do anything. I was like, I know this stuff. I've seen it before, and then I somewhat unconsciously pretended that because I've seen it before, it should work now. Why is it not working? Until I seen it, and then I started laughing and went, "Oh my God, knowing doesn't evolve you. Seeing it every time evolves you, but you got to see it."
yeah,
And that opened up this whole like relaxation for me. You know, fear dissolved. But not only did fear dissolve, maybe I don't need to write the article if I can just get it all out here.
yeah, maybe.
But not only did fear dissolve, I was able to articulate it in the way, like create that distinction between knowing it and seeing it. I was speaking to a client that was going through the same thing. She was able to see it and she's been trying to know it. Like she's seen it before. She was stuck in the same cycle I was in.
Hmm.
And it just, it was effortless, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
So
There's
the
such
reason,
a sorry.
no, I wanted to just say the reason I wanted to mention that is because I related to so much about what you said about overwhelm and how most of us know that overwhelm is created from thought, but if you don't see it, it's not helpful at all.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And then it sort of becomes this. like you said before, this is Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it occurred to me that it's like you need to get there intellectually. If you want to, it starts intellectually, from the intellect. Like it starts with the possibility that it's inside out, not outside in, or that the feelings are created from your thought. And only in the moment that you start to realize that that is a thought, then you can sort of take it further. I think, because it's sort of you need to have it intellectually, because that's how we work, right? And that's why we get caught out, because I still get overwhelmed or feel overwhelmed. It's like,
Yeah.
just notice like I've got way too much to do and I need to take a step back. But then it's like, oh yeah, this feeling's because I've been trying to, or I'm thinking so much about all the things I need to do. And then it does kind of help me calm down a little bit and sort of fall out of that more easily, instead of it not really ever happening ever again. I mean, still an emotion, and emotions still happen from thoughts. So
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with that. Just rambling a bit.
I think what I'm hearing you say, at least, is that you have to get it first intellectually. Like when you said that, what I heard was I can relate to that. So I'll speak for myself, right? Like I'm usually an analytical person. I would describe myself for the last at least 15 years of my life before becoming a coach. I was very analytical, calculative, pros and cons. That's the way I operated, consciously at least. And when you said that you have to get it intellectual first, I can relate, because I had to get it intellectual first. But it almost seemed like that's the first veil to pierce through.
Yeah.
Right? And then it kind of settles in, and you're making sense of it, or you're challenging it, and you're pushing it away, and you're welcoming it, and then something else sinks in deeper.
Yeah.
So that's what I heard, and I agree with that. Like I can relate to that. But I also have seen people get something like this, and it goes right through, and they get it, and then it's like conversation over.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like one of my clients I worked with, she got an insight, and it was so expansive for her that it's made no sense to even speak after that. I mean, I kept talking, and she was like, "Wait a minute," and I was like, "Okay, let's just pause. And are you complete?" And she's like, "Fully complete." And then there was, yeah, that is really cool, right? I was jealous. And then I've seen people get insights, but then not trust the insight. If that makes sense, they're like, "Oh yeah, I do see it, but I'm so used to this way that I'm going to go back to this way." So I don't know. I think it works any which way. For me, for sure, intellectually, even right now, if I get new insights, it seems to be, my intellect is more like a security guard going, "Hey, hang on, let's check you out first before you let you in."
Yeah.
And then let the thought in and be a little bit more familiar with it.
Yeah. I guess you're right, because that insight for me just came out of the blue. I mean, I just woke up to it in the morning. It wasn't something I was intellectually thinking about. It's like, "Good morning, by the way."
Here are your messages for today.
That's good to know. Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I guess I'm wrong.
Well, no, you are right. I mean, you're right. In my world, you're right for sure. And if I wouldn't have seen this with other people, I would probably say it's the same for everyone.
Yeah. Interesting. Something to think about, or not. And
Yeah. You know what else came up for me when you were talking is one of the, this is, I guess, a fresh insight for me, excuse me. I have been kind of wrestling with the fact that there is this formless intelligence,
mm,
not wrestling with that fact, but wrestling with the fact, I mean, I know that, I've seen that and continue to see it, continue not seeing it, continue, forgetting it, all that stuff. But I was wrestling with the fact that how do you explain to somebody there's an intellect and then there's an intelligence, and those two are pretty separate. The intellect is recycled data, the intelligence is fresh. One of the ways I came to explain it, and this is how I'm just leading up to how I got my insight, right?
yeah.
One of the ways I started explaining it that came in through a conversation I was having was, you know how in Spotify you have a playlist,
Mhm.
right? So you can have 3,000 songs in your playlist and you're pretty good. Like you're not going to be bored of the music,
Yeah.
but it's still not called live streaming. Live streaming is completely a different game.
Mm,
And our intellect is more like that playlist. It's like a gathering of information. Uh, it's a lot of information. It's very useful. It's helpful. You use it every day, but you're not live streaming. Live
mhm.
streaming is different. It's creative. It's curious. And I was coaching somebody around this, and he goes, "What about like 30,000 songs?" And I'm like, "Well, that's pretty good. That's a lot of information. You'll never get bored."
Yeah.
And I said to him, "I'm like, make it 3 million. Why 30,000? 3 million songs. You'll never hear the same song twice." But the difference between that and streaming is still worlds apart, because streaming, you're streaming from the source, and your playlist is recycled. So I was trying to articulate this, and I came up with this kind of metaphor, and it helped him out. But what really was helpful for me was, and again, this is because my analytical mind kind of kicks in and goes, "Wait a minute, we have to describe everything."
Yeah.
And what was helpful for me was to realize, and I heard somebody else say something, or maybe say something in regards to this, and then it kicked in,
Mhm.
as to realize that our intellectual knowledge, or our intellect, consists of also our um, outward perception.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what I mean by that is, like I was talking to about before the call,
Mhm.
like our memory
Yeah. Yeah.
is outward perception, and then there's a subconscious memory. Like I have a gang related life background, so I have a subconscious memory that gives me shit I don't like sometimes, a lot. um, but that's still pointed outwards, right? That's like I couldn't see that before. I was like, oh, how is it that I used to call it thought?
Hmm.
I used to just be like, hey, that's this invisible spiritual energy that I'm experiencing right now. It's not real.
Mm.
But that didn't help, because what really helped for me was the definition to go, wait a minute, there is two perceptions. There's an inner perception and an outward perception, and memories fall under outward perception because it's already in created form.
Yeah.
And that helped me a lot, because it showed me that my senses are all, they're they're pointed external.
Mhm.
I can't use my senses to look inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't see that before. Like I kind of, heard it or whatever, but I just didn't see it.
Hmm.
And sometimes when I want to look inside, excuse me, because sometimes you get an unpleasant experience for too long, and you're like, yeah, I kind of want to get rid of it.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
I know that's not the best thing to do, but sometimes you just want to.
Mhm.
And so I noticed that I was trying to use uh my senses, my whatever. I don't know how to explain it. Senses like includes emotions too.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah,
emotions
sure.
are already informed, like they're already informed. That's not part of the formless. At least that's how I'm seeing it. So I was trying
Yeah,
to use that to look inside,
yeah,
and I didn't realize that I'm using something that's created for security purposes. Like it's these senses are to keep us secure, right? Like the sense of touch is to keep you away from fire, but you can never feel what's inside with your sense of touch. How can you try and use that to look inside?
yeah. That, yeah,
Opened it up so much for me. It opened me up to look at um, uh, atmosphere. Excuse me. It opened me up to look at like, how about I start noticing atmosphere instead of content if I'm at a place. So if I'm at the park, instead of describing, it's pretty easy to notice the atmosphere in a calm environment, right? Like if you ask somebody, hey, how was the park? They're not going to say, well, it was green and there was a few trees there.
yeah,
We're most likely to say, oh, it was calm and relaxing,
yeah,
because we're more likely to notice the atmosphere when it's calm and relaxing. But my challenge that I gave to myself is start trying to notice the atmosphere when it's not calm and relaxing, like traffic
mm,
or sirens or babies crying for way too long. I love babies and I love them crying, but for way too long, your intellect's
yeah,
going to go, shut up.
yeah. What's wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my insight around that was like, uh, because again, it's the description, right? If somebody asks me how was the traffic,
Mhm,
I'm more likely to go, oh, it was boring, and this person, there's one person over here, at least in Vancouver, there's one person per car,
mhm.
and that's why that's one of the contributors to lots of traffic. Like everyone is just have one person in it.
Yeah, yeah,
No wonder it's blocked. There's sirens, not a good atmosphere.
yeah.
But that's like describing traffic. That's not describing the atmosphere. Um, does that make sense? Like if I go to a club, I was just giving this example to somebody. If I go to a club and somebody asks me, how was the club? I'm not more likely to say what the atmosphere of the club is. I'm more likely to go, well, there was lineups, the bar was full, you couldn't get a drink, there was this kind of people there. And I'm looking at that as kind of describing the content instead of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because uh, like all of that in contrast to the park. That was a
Yes,
park,
exactly. Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah. Because the park is not, I don't know, for me, I'm not going to come up with descriptions of a park. I'm more likely to come up with
yeah.
what I was feeling there.
It's not like, yeah, there was a blade of grass there that was longer than the other
Right.
ones, and
Yeah.
a bird up in the tree, and it's like,
Exactly.
yeah,
And so, that atmosphere, or that way of looking for atmosphere, I found was a good way to use my inner perception and not my outward perception. So my outward perception would be all the senses that I'm trying to, well, they're automatically built to protect me,
hmm,
but I'm trying to use those to look inside. There's no harm, there's no threat inside.
right,
You can't take security inside.
hmm,
There's no threat. You're not going to see anything. You're going to look for threats only.
hmm, yeah,
Whereas when you're looking for atmosphere, you're not looking at from a threatening perspective.
hmm,
It's like, let's set up the security alarm for the house inside the house.
hmm,
No, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to set it up outside because there's no threat inside.
right,
Right? So it's in the same sense, I was trying to look inside with a security system of my sensory perspective, not seeing anything because I was looking for threats.
hmm,
But when I was switching myself to let's look for atmosphere, then I seemed more relaxed and more uh, able to use my inner perception.
hmm. Wow.
I'm going to stop there, otherwise it's going to get really like muddy and complicated for me, at least.
Yeah, yeah,
I hope that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, vaguely, yeah. But it's really, yeah, it's a really tough sort of, yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, but it's really a tough one, really complex.
Well, it's complex for me still too, so I don't know. I'm explaining it correctly. I mean,
No, no, there's something I can sort of like that. Yeah, it feels like there's something there, like because in my head I'm going through the example of traffic and how you can be really relaxed in busy traffic.
yeah.
Um, and usually you can be like really relaxed in traffic when you notice that there's lots of stuff going on, and then you felt yourself getting annoyed, like it's not moving, or what's going on, and can't see why is nobody moving, um, and when you start to notice that you feel that, and that it's about the content of the traffic or what's going on, and not the the atmosphere, I
You
guess.
explained it a lot better than me, actually.
I don't.
Yeah, I get. That's what I was trying to say, and I get what you're saying. Is when you're noticing the atmosphere, you're less likely to notice the content.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, right?
Yeah, I would say so. That's kind of where I was trying to go into the direction of, because the content is never going to please me. I mean, it's content.
Yeah,
It's like the park example. It's whatever. There was a swing there, and there was some grass there. There was a tree in the background. That doesn't sound like I want to go back there. It's just whatever.
yeah.
But if you're explaining the atmosphere, it's like, oh, it was really calm and relaxing.
Mhm.
We know it's not the park, but to give the
Yeah,
example of how much easier it is for me to notice uh, if I'm looking for atmosphere rather than looking for content. I don't know if that's I don't know if we have choice over that. I don't know that one yet. I can't seem to see that. I seem to think I have a choice. I think I have a choice to look for content or atmosphere, but I don't know if I do. What are your thoughts on that?
oh wow, that's tough. I don't know. I really don't know. Uh,
I wonder about that though. It's
hmm,
you know, um, I think we talked about this last time. Is that when we're getting a thought, it's coming from somewhere else. We're not the ones generating it, right?
yeah, yeah,
So in that sense, we don't have a choice. So that also means that whatever action comes from that thought is not my choice either.
hmm,
So that means I have no control over anything or
hmm,
any action. Like if you look at it in that sense.
yeah.
So with that in mind, I that's why I wondered this one. I'm like, can I actually go and look for atmosphere, or can I look for content, and do I control what I look for? Looks to me I can, but I'm suspecting that I can't.
Oh God, yeah, man, that's trippy. I have no idea. I really don't. But I mean, all I really know is that there are moments when I can sort of see when I'm following an idea or a thought, and so realize that I'm doing it and stop doing it.
Huh. What do you mean by that? Can you expand on that?
Um, like getting annoyed in traffic. There are moments when I can see like I'm getting annoyed by the situation, and it's like, oh wait a minute, the situation isn't annoying me. I'm annoying me, and using the situation as an excuse. Sort of like I'm not explaining it really well, but there are just these moments that I fall out of the feeling because it's like it's not coming from the situation. It's just coming from thinking that I'm having about the situation.
So you're saying, when you notice that you can drop it.
Yeah, or drop it
Okay.
more easily, not necessarily always.
Yeah.
but it's just easier to see, and it's like, ah, okay. And then,
Right. Okay. I can relate to that.
right?
Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, I think, yeah, I think you said it perfectly. It's easier. It's just not, it's because there's times when I'm like, oh yeah, it's me, but I'm still annoyed,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Like it's not totally gone.
Nope, no, definitely. And it's always you're also always playing catch up because the emotion's already there, so the thoughts always already been there, and you're sort of too late to even do anything about it. So you can't really direct it any which way because the thought has already been there. So and the emotion has already been created before you can notice it. Because you can't notice a thought that hasn't been created yet
Yeah, yeah,
because it's
yeah.
not been
Right, right,
created yet.
right.
So so you're always sort of kind of too late, I guess. But then it's like, what do you do with it? I guess. But that's not always true because sometimes you just completely forget and get lost and
Totally. Yeah.
get
Yeah.
annoyed or pissed
I,
off, or whatever.
yeah. I can attest to that. I've been totally caught up in it and completely annoyed or angry or frustrated or whatever it is. But really, what's been helpful is to, even if I don't see it in the moment, that, you know, because it would be nice to see it so it drops. Obviously, I wish for that, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But even if I don't see it, it helps. This understanding helps me not take action on it. Like that's for sure.
Yeah.
I've noticed that consistently. You know, I've gotten angry many times. Doesn't have to make it into words. Even it doesn't have to make it into behavior. It doesn't have to do any of that. And it's not like I try to stop it from going there. It just doesn't make it.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, yeah.
one of the one of the examples that comes to mind is like vulnerability.
Hmm.
To be really vulnerable as the world would see it. Like for me, I still don't see it clearly, but I do see that vulnerability is so for example, I'm really angry.
Hmm.
Vulnerability would be to voice my anger, express it in a healthy way and all that stuff. But that doesn't make sense to me anymore. It's like, why would I even give energy to that anger and bring it into words and expression and thoughts more? And I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I know it would be called vulnerable because wow, you're so brave to talk about your anger.
Hmm.
To me, it's the opposite way almost. It's like it's just an experience I don't like, but I don't need to. Not I don't need to. It just doesn't make sense to. Excuse me. You know how thought comes to feeling, comes to behavior.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to make it to the last stage.
Right.
Doesn't need it.
Yeah. It
Excuse me.
sort of feels kind of uh, like feeding it, or like that it doesn't make sense to feed it beyond noticing that
Yeah.
emotion and the thought. And, um, I
Yeah,
guess
sort of. It's like
I don't
if
know.
it makes it to behavior, if it makes it to words even, right? If we go with the angry example and if I'm angry and it makes it to words and behavior, then I've already believed my anger to a level where I need to fix it.
Yeah,
And speaking about it is a way of fixing it.
yeah,
Expressing your anger is a way of fixing it. But it
yeah.
doesn't make sense to me to go there and do that.
Right, right.
I mean, if I'm going to do that, might as well just, take it out in behavior and throw
Yeah.
things or something. That's a way of expression.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm joking, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
People watching this like, oh my god.
This angry guy. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really it's like stretching my intellect. It's like I don't know. It was giving me a headache, but I sort of get it. Yeah, it's really interesting.
I have I guess, a habit of trying to make sense of things before I see them.
Uh-huh.
At least lately, I this sensory system I discovered, and I went, oh yeah, that can't be pointed inwards.
Hmm.
Um, I did that with something else, and it helped me get an insight there.
Hmm.
Not trying to get an insight, just trying to make sense of how I can get better at articulating this to close the gap between, uh, when I'm speaking with a client and and we're in this conversation, they know the principles as much as whatever, and
Hmm.
I know the principles as much as I know.
Hmm.
But I'm always looking for ways to articulate it better so that gap is closed in a more efficient way, and the person gets an insight,
Yeah.
or sees something in their experience. You know,
Yeah.
that's why I think I'm always trying to, uh, drive myself through this in my own head and go, what would be a better way to explaining it? I think Michael Neal does a fantastic job of articulating. His articulation is really good, I think.
Yeah. 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 He's, uh, yeah, the stories he finds and creates and the metaphors and stuff. Yeah,
The metaphors, yeah, love
yeah,
them.
yeah, definitely. Uh, yeah, I mean that's sort of kind of his talent, I guess. So, but
Yeah, I don't like to believe it's a talent. I really think that it's a learned thing.
yeah,
I think so. I think metaphors, oh man, if you look at my life 2 years ago, metaphors wasn't really in it. I wouldn't explain things with metaphors. And now a lot of it is explained with metaphors. How I'm seeing it is that when you're trying to explain something that's unexplainable, metaphors are automatically going to come out. There's nothing better to do it with. So you automatically get better at metaphors,
yeah, 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 yeah. Fair enough. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. That's I completely agree because it's you're trying to explain something that can't be explained, so all you can do is describe it, and
Right. Yeah.
that's kind of a metaphor. I mean,
Yeah.
description in a story kind of way, right?
That's right. If I look back into just last summer, I remember people telling me, you have some really comical metaphors, like very funny, weird analogies. And I think they're getting better
Mhm.
in terms of, what kind of sense they make and how related it is to the actual thing I'm trying to explain
Mhm.
or describe. But yeah, I do think you get better. You get better and better at metaphors. I I like Dr. Aaron Turner's, uh, the way he speaks as well. I connect with his metaphors as well.
Yeah, I haven't really seen much of his work at all. So,
Yeah, yeah, I relate to his stuff quite a bit.
I'll have to go check him out. Then.
Check him out. I think you and I think a little bit similar in some ways at least. So I think you'll like it. Check it out. I'll send you a video that I really like at least.
Oh yeah, yeah, please do.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah,
be great. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. What else has been coming up?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for me, there was like nothing new about that. Um,
Excuse me. Yeah, I think that overwhelm insight that you had is really, really powerful. Could it could help you take on more things, I
yeah, but it's funny because it's something that I really needed.
hmm,
Uh, like in the situation in my life, it was something that was really important for me to get. Looking back at it, um, yeah, it's just something that I really needed to see at the moment, and it's been really helpful as well. Just to keep going. keep everything in balance. Because I've
Those are great.
started doing city council work as well, and then on top of having there's just way too much going on already. So and
Right.
that takes up a lot of evenings, and that uh, that kind of caused me to work from morning till evening, and then just go to bed after I've finished the last bit of work or last report or whatever, at like 10 or 11 in the evening. Um,
Yeah.
I used to get really overwhelmed by that stuff and then just quit and drop everything, like needing to fix it by stopping everything I was doing. But that doesn't make sense anymore. It's like if you're too busy and too full, then sure. If you can't fit it into the hours that you have comfortably, then yeah, sure. It makes sense to drop a few things here or there. Um, but the feeling of overwhelmment isn't telling you to do that. And that's what I thought that it did. So I had like these periods in my life where I would just stop doing stuff for a month. That was really terrible. So yeah, that wasn't good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. Very cool.
Hmm.
I'm really excited about this event that's coming up here in Vancouver. I'm holding this first one with Jacqueline Hollows, and her work is pretty incredible herself, right?
Yeah, yeah. Amazing lady. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, whatever I have been able to learn and see and even help my current clients with,
Hmm.
uh, and I come from this space of like, let's dissect it and see it and explain it. And she, I find, comes from a really place of this grounded feeling.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good combination, and I'm really looking forward to it to see. I'm hoping to do this more in Vancouver every 2, 3 months. If I can do a 3-day event,
Wow.
I would love to do that, and I would love to bring in different guests.
Yeah. Beautiful. When is it again?
It's June 10th, 11th, and 12th, just
Right.
in a few weeks.
Hmm.
3 days, yeah.
Yeah, just a month away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's May 9th, isn't it?
Yeah. 11th.
It's a May 11th. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shows you where I am at.
Same time. Oh yeah. Overwhelming. I need to do stuff. Hmm. Okay. So
Well, should we end it here for today, or do you have anything else
yeah.
to?
No, no, that was what I was thinking as well. It's like sounds like a good point.
Cool. Okay, let's end it here. It's a really enjoyable chat, man. Very lighthearted, and I always enjoy this, and I hope that the viewers do enjoy it as well because we're just silly talking. We're not trying to get to a place. So
Right.
hopefully it helps somebody get some insights, and if you don't get insights, I hope you get entertained at the least. I will stop it here and
Yeah.
do this again in a couple of weeks.